Everyone's favorite cartoon is making a comeback in just a few more days, and I figured I might as well make a quick video talking about it. Why the hell not? So for those who don't know, last year there was a little cartoon that came out by the name of Velma, which was intended to be a very different, much more adult-oriented spin-off of Scooby-Doo. It didn't go very well with critics or audiences. It is only a year old and it's already made animation history for all the wrong reasons. It is one of the lowest rated cartoons and just lowest rated TV shows in general on IMDb, and it has gotten non-stop backlash ever since it came out. Me personally, I don't think it is a good show at all, but I don't hate it as much as I probably should for some reason, and I think there are a couple reasons as to why I feel this way. Number one, there's the fact that because this is such an infamous, hated cartoon, I feel like there wasn't really that much for me to say about it. Like, there was nothing new for me to say. I feel like it says something when, like, the only new original things I could say about Velma are, like, the few positives about it, the few redeeming qualities of it, and that's it. But then there's also the fact that I've seen so much worse stuff when compared to Velma. Prior to watching Velma on The Search for the Worst Cartoon, a series that I have dedicated to trying to find the worst cartoon ever made, I looked at a little cartoon called The Slim Shady Show, based on beloved rapper Eminem. At the time, I declared it to be the worst cartoon ever made. Yes, at the time, the fact that I no longer consider it the worst cartoon ever made should concern you very much if you're new here. And so, when the time came for me to sit down and watch Velma, after having just suffered through the Slim Shady Show, I began to think, hey, this isn't that terrible, at least in comparison to some of the other stuff I've looked at on this series. I didn't think it was a good show, but there was nothing in it that made me angry, at least when compared to some of the stuff that I saw before Velma, and a lot of the stuff that I would watch after Velma. I just didn't find it to be a very funny show. But I wasn't angry watching it. I wasn't offended by how bad it was. I didn't sit through all 10 episodes of season 1. I only sat through the first 3 episodes, and then I sat through like the first few minutes of the 4th episode, and then I decided, yeah, I'm done. I'm not gonna watch any more of this. I called it quits. Not because I thought the show was offensively bad or anything like that. It was too much for me to handle, but because there was just nothing for the show. Like, it was not giving me any good material. I looked at stuff like Red Ape Family and the Slim Shady Show before Velma, and it's like those gave me so much more material to work with when compared to Velma. So I find it very questionable the fact that Velma is significantly more hated than both of these shows, despite the fact that these are much worse than Velma. Velma is far from the worst cartoon I've ever seen. I don't think it's good, but I have seen so much worse trash. Anyone that says Velma is the worst cartoon ever made or whatever, they would not survive Fairview or Pixel Pinky or anything like that. I'm just gonna say that right there. Sit through all 8 episodes of Fairview. I dare you. Yeah, that rhymed, I know. Sit through all 8 episodes of Fairview, and by the end of it, you're gonna start praising Mindy Kaling over here as a animation genius. I'm telling you. Swim deeper into the ocean and you're gonna find so much worse stuff. That's all I'm gonna say. Now, despite the huge amount of backlash that season 1 of Velma received, it ended up getting a season 2 anyways, and a trailer was released for it recently, much to the dismay of the animation community. I decided to sit down and watch this trailer, and yeah, here we go with the controversy. I don't think it looks that terrible, honestly. Like, there's nothing in it that I really hate. There's no, like, standout funny moments or anything like that in the trailer, but I don't see anything in it to, like, really hate. I was never 100% against the idea of this getting a season 2, because there was always that possibility that maybe things could change. Maybe the show could improve. It's unlikely, but it's not impossible. It could happen. We always talk about seasonal rot. You know, we always look at shows like Family Guy and The Simpsons, and we're like, oh, The Simpsons used to be good, but now it's not good anymore. But like, we don't ever take the time to think about shows that went through the opposite effect. Seasonal redemption, as I like to call it. Shows that started off okay, decent, you know, not bad, but not very good either. And then as time went on, they would go and become much better shows. They would become great shows, actually. I understand that the circumstances are a bit different for Velma, but there's not really anything that would make Velma different from this, except for the fact that the first season was really bad. Bro, it will be so funny if, like, season 2 ends up being much better than season 1, and then everyone hates on it anyways, just because of how bad season 1 was. Season 2 could have a lot of improvements from the first season, and then like everyone's gonna hate it anyways just because season 1 was that bad. When it comes to bad shows getting a season 2, it's always a gamble. There's like a 50-50 chance, you know? There's a 50% chance that it ends up being the same garbage as the first season, and then there's a 50% chance that it ends up being a significant improvement from the first season. And I know I'm gonna get a lot of backlash for saying this, but it seems that Velma might fall into the latter category. Like, there's no offensively unfunny jokes or anything like that. Like, you think of like the first season has like the adults who still watch cartoons joke. There's nothing like that in this trailer. Maybe there's probably going to be something like that in the final show. I don't doubt it, but just looking at this trailer, it looks fine. I don't see what there is to hate. There's a chance that like maybe they heard all the criticisms that the first season received, and so they improved on it, because I don't see what there is to like hate about the trailer, except for the fact that like season 1 was really bad. But that doesn't automatically mean season 2 is going to be bad as well. This just looks okay. Regardless of how season 2 of Velma turns out, it's highly unlikely that I will ever make a subsequent video on it. I have looked at over 30 cartoons on the search for the worst cartoons so far. You want to know how many of these shows are still ongoing to this very day? 4 of them. That's right, only 4 of these shows are still going on to this very day, out of over 30. The Red Ape Family, Velma, The Loud House, and Has-Been Hotel, and that's it. That's it for cartoons that I've looked at on this series that are still going on to this day. I don't even know if the Red Ape Family counts for this, because it seems to have this weird thing where it's like there's just 1 episode per year, and that's it. There are 3 episodes of the Red Ape Family. Episode 1 came out in late 2021, Episode 2 came out in early 2022, and Episode 3 came out in early 2023. We are almost in May of 2024, and there has not been a 4th episode yet, so who the hell knows what's going to happen with the subsequent episodes of this thing? Who knows if this will get an Episode 4? Hopefully not. Most of the cartoons that I've looked at on this series, they've just been canceled. Just like that. And then on rare occasions, very, very, very rare occasions, you have shows that actually have proper endings. They end. They have serious finales. They have proper conclusions. And then you have Slippin' Jimmy and Santa Inc., which are both intended to be mini-series. So it's like, they're never gonna get season 2s at all. They were never intended to get season 2s. Finally, you have Megamind Rules, which is in this like weird gray area where it's like, I don't know if it'll get a season 2 yet. It is far too soon to determine the future of Megamind Rules, if it will get a season 2 or if it will get canceled after season 1. I don't think it'll get a season 2, but yeah, I don't know. Only time will tell, really. If Megamind Rules does get a season 2 though, then well, consider it part of the club of shows that are still ongoing. This extremely small club of just 5 cartoons out of over 30. And the few ongoing cartoons that I've looked at on this series, I don't ever intend to make follow-up videos on them talking about how they are now with their next seasons. I mean, The Loud House is on like what, its 7th, 8th season? I don't know? So it's like, what's the point of talking about it now? But then something like Has Been Hotel, for example, is a bit different, because like, if Has Been Hotel season 2 is exactly the same as season 1, then I'm not gonna make a video on it. And in the unfortunately very unlikely event that season 2 of Has Been Hotel ends up being a massive improvement over the first season, I might make a quick video talking about it, but I don't think I'll make a big deal about it. I don't think I'll acknowledge it all that much. I will be amazed if somehow Has Been Hotel manages to become a better show with season 2. I will be amazed if something possesses Vivzy Pop into becoming a good writer for once when it comes to Has Been Hotel season 2. Unfortunately though, it'll just be the same old garbage as the first season. Just non-stop swearing and that's it. No actual funny jokes, nothing like that. Just a whole lot of swearing and then the occasional serious moment that I'm unable to take seriously because of how bad the humor is. I don't know how Velma season 2 is going to turn out, and truth be told, I don't really care all that much, because I feel like I've said everything that I've ever wanted to say about Velma in the original Search for the Worst Cartoon episode that I made about it, and even then, admittedly, I didn't really say a whole lot about the show itself, because again, there was nothing new for me to say about it. Everything that I could have said about the show, it's already been said by tons of other people, so it's like, what is there for me to say about it that's new? Why would I ever want to sit down and revisit Velma for its second season when there's a whole unexplored ocean of garbage that I would much rather go through instead? I'd rather explore new cartoons that I've never seen before rather than revisit this cartoon that I've already seen for its second season, especially in the event that season 2 is just the same thing as season 1, like it has the same flaws and whatever. And again, because I've seen so many garbage cartoons on this series, I'm just not gonna feel anything watching it. Every other cartoon YouTuber is gonna make a whole song and dance about how Velma season 2 was a crime against humanity, and I'm just gonna be sitting here thinking, yeah, these people would not survive Pixel Pinky. They would not survive that at all. I'm also not ready for the fact that like the people that were praising Has Been Hotel just a few months ago, they're gonna start hating on this as well. Dude, I unironically can't see why I'm supposed to consider Velma bad, but then Has Been Hotel I'm supposed to consider this amazing great show. Like, it just makes no sense to me at all. I am not ready to see a bunch of people make a big deal about how this show is bad and awful and terrible and whatever, when literally just a few months ago, those same exact people were praising a show that thinks saying f*** and bitch a million times for literally no reason is funny. That's comedy gold. I am not ready for the double standards. I am not ready for them at all. Oh yeah, I'd like to address the hate watching stuff as well. No, Velma did not get a season 2 because of people hate watching it. I never bought into the whole hate watching a bad show could give it a season 2 thing. It doesn't make sense to me at all. Do you have any idea how many bad shows would have gotten a season 2 because of people hate watching them? Do you have any idea? I cannot think of another instance where it's like a really bad show comes out and people hate watch it, and it ends up getting a season 2 because of people hate watching it. Like, when has that ever happened? It has never happened for any show before Velma, and it has never happened for any show after Velma. This is something that has happened to one show, and only one show, and that show in question is none other than Velma. I love how the people that say Velma got a season 2 because of people hate watching it conveniently forget that in 2023 there was another critically panned HBO Max show that came out that was also largely hate watched and also largely talked about in a negative way, and yet unlike Velma, it ended up getting cancelled after one season. During the summer of 2023, it was the most talked about show for all the wrong reasons, and it still ended up getting cancelled after one season. Again, in general though, I cannot think of an instance where it's like a bad show got a second season because of people hate watching it. I don't know when else has that ever happened. It has only ever happened to one show, and that's it. And the fact that Velma is seemingly the only show in existence to have this sort of thing happen, where it got a second season because of people hate watching it, it leads me to believe that maybe it didn't get a second season because of people hate watching it. I don't know, just a thought. Dude, there are probably tons of cartoons that I've looked at on the search for the worst cartoon that they would have gotten season 2s if you applied this logic to them, this hate watch logic. You know, when you really think about it, the search for the worst cartoon is just one giant hate watch thing. I just go into these shows, hate watching them, knowing that they're gonna be garbage, and surprise, surprise, they end up being garbage. Do you actually think I'm going to sit down and watch a cartoon based on JoJo Siwa and you think I'm going to find it good unironically? Like, just think about that, please. Think about that. Yeah, topical reference, I know. I have no idea what is up with this edgy aesthetic that she's been going for lately. It's weird as hell. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I can't wait for season 3 of the JoJo and Bobo show. I think it's gonna take a very interesting turn. Better hate watch the first 2 seasons so that we could have season 3 be a reality. You know, I've been thinking about this recently. I cannot believe I never thought about this until I started working on this video, but like, there's High Guardian Spice. That's like the perfect counterclaim to the whole hate watching Velma gave it a season 2 stuff. I always point to the Idol whenever I want to debunk that because there are more similarities between the Idol and Velma. They're both poorly received HBO Max shows from 2023 that were largely talked about in a negative way, but High Guardian Spice is another perfect example. Now, I'm going to admit that I didn't watch the show initially when it first came out in late 2021, as indicated by the fact that I wouldn't make a video on it until late 2023, like 2 years after it came out. And I remember when it first came out, I was like, I saw a little bit of people talking about it, not really a whole lot. I don't remember. I wasn't familiar with the show at all, so I could not tell you at all. I just briefly saw from time to time people were hating on this thing, and that was it, really. So then when the time came for me to make a video on it, I decided to do a little more research, and I saw that, like, yeah, this was a really hated show when it first came out. And then for this video, I decided to do even more research on the show to see like the reception it got. And like, it's like basically on the same level as Velma. Like, the backlash that it got was pretty much equal to the backlash that Velma got when Velma first came out. It wasn't like, oh, there was backlash, but it wasn't as bad as Velma. Like, no, it was on the same damn level. I go onto the Crunchyroll page of this show and I scroll through the comments. There's just thousands of comments talking about how bad the show is. I go onto YouTube, I look up High Guardian Spice, I just find tons of negative reviews of the show. Everyone f***ing hated this thing when it first came out. Can't say I blame them, to be honest. This was one of the hardest cartoons I've ever had to sit through. But the fact is, like, even though this had the same level of hate that Velma got, there was never a season 2. This show was largely talked about when it first came out. It got a lot of undeserved attention from people who were hating on it. There were most likely a lot of people that hate watched the show when it came out, and yet it never got a season 2. It never got a follow-up season or anything like that. It was never officially announced to be canceled either. I couldn't find like an announcement or whatever that the show was canceled, but it's been almost 3 years since this thing came out, and we've gotten no updates at all about the future of the show, about a potential season 2. We've gotten no updates at all, so I think it's safe to say that this thing has been canceled for good. I decided to watch the final episode of the show for this video. It was really awful, unsurprisingly, and because I didn't even watch the whole show when I made the video on it, I was left with a lot of moments that I didn't know the context of. I don't want to go too off topic from the video, but the series finale of High Guardian Spice begins with a cat girl and this like edgelord guy with purple hair that like, he looks like that one girl from the Owl House that has the purple hair, and he's like so cringy in how edgy it is. It's like this 2009 Shadow the Hedgehog character. It's so cringy. It's like the only time the show is ever funny bad because it comes off as such like a try-hard attempt to be edgy. You can only imagine how confused and uncomfortable I was when these two characters were the first things that I saw when I started the episode, really. I was originally just going to skim through the episode. I wasn't going to watch the whole thing. I was only going to watch parts of it, but then the moment I saw these two characters, I knew I would be in for a grand old time, and so against my will, I sat down and I watched the whole episode. But anyways, the show just ends with a cliffhanger. There's no like conclusive arc, nothing like that. It ends with a cliffhanger. It ends like it sets up a season 2, but then that season 2 never happened because the show got really awful reviews. So I think that this show completely debunks the whole hate watching a bad show gives it a season 2 nonsense. If hate watching a bad show gives it a season 2, then why hasn't High Guardian Spice gotten a season 2 yet? It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. It really doesn't. I don't know, I'm just kind of fed up with the whole like don't hate watch a bad show because then it'll get a season 2 nonsense. Like that has never happened for any other show. I remember reading something that Velma was always planned to have 2 seasons. I don't know if that's true, but that's just something that I've heard. So maybe that probably is the case. I don't know. And even then, the trailer doesn't even look that bad. I don't see, like, what's terrible about it, except that, like, oh, the first season was really bad. Again, my whole whatever attitude towards Velma could just be attributed to the fact that I've seen so much worse garbage. And I guess it's just made me desensitized to the bad stuff that's in Velma. It's made me immune to the garbage qualities of Velma. I don't know. It's just a really weird thing to me. I don't intend to make a video on season 2 of Velma regardless of how it turns out. I would much rather go through a whole lot of unexplored garbage, trash cartoons that I have never seen before. There is no reason for me to revisit this show for its second season, especially considering the fact that, number one, I'm probably not going to hate it as much as everyone else is on the basis that I've seen much worse stuff. Number two, there will be nothing new for me to say about season 2 that nobody else will say about it. And number 3, I didn't even finish the first season, and I don't intend to sit through all 10 episodes. No thank you, I'm good. Oh yeah, and I just need to just clarify again, in case there's someone out there who thinks otherwise. No, I don't think Velma is good. I don't find it to be a funny or enjoyable show, and yet I don't hate it as much as other people do, because I've seen so much worse stuff than Velma. I just have to make that clear again, because I know that people will think otherwise if I don't mention that a million times. Anyways, that's about it. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to like, and if you're new to the channel, maybe consider subscribing, as it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you everyone for watching this video, and I will see you all next time. Adios.